I lied to you, but I've changed my ways. I'm just kidding. My name's Sam. I'm the founder and lead copywriter at Nomad Copy Agency, and last July, I sent one email a day positioning my offers to my entire email list. Yes, my entire email list of thousands of people received an email from me every single day. I posted about it last week on Threads, and I got a lot of responses from it, both on the thread and people messaging me privately. So I wanted to come here and break down what I did, both what I was doing before I did this experiment, how I followed up after, and what that experiment looked like for me. I'm sharing my screen, so you can see this if you're watching on YouTube. I'm also going to run the entire email sequence through ChatGPT and get its thoughts on it and share those with you real time. And also, we're going to finish out by talking about, is this something that you should do in your business? I'm going to read the thread to you. It says, last June, I sent one email a day positioning my offers, everything from $19 to $5,000. It was the first summer I didn't experience the summer slump, and not one person complained to me about the volume of emails. And 2, my unsubscribe rate was the same as usual. So let's talk about it. I got a lot of questions. A lot of it had to do with what I was doing before, what I was saying in the emails. You can see on my screen that people said, were you just jumping on a soapbox? What happened? Did my opens drop? Were my click-throughs good? Were my unsubscribes any different from previously? What was my send frequency? I had a lot of questions, right? So here's the deal. I'm a sales copywriter. I am not afraid to sell my offers, and I also don't have a lot of troubles writing a lot of emails. I tend to plan my nurture emails and my sales emails several weeks in the future. So this wasn't weird for me. Before July, I was sending about 2 to 3 emails a week on average to my full list. They varied between educational emails and positioning my offers. Every email I send does include a link to work with me in it. Some of them are a harder sell than others. So that was my frequency beforehand. So for me to go from a few times a week to every single day wasn't that weird. Another thing I was experiencing previously is this idea called the summer slump. Most of the people that I work with are very small businesses. They are 1 to 3, maybe 5 full-time employees, and I work directly with the owner of the business. Owners of businesses tend to be within a certain age group, and that a lot of times means that they have kids at home or that they're traveling a lot in the summertime. A lot of my audience is also from the Northern Hemisphere, so we experience summer at the same time as each other. So that's where this idea of the summer slump came from. Now, I started out speaking by saying that I lied to you. This thread says that I did this experiment last June. It actually happened during July. So I misremembered that. That's the only lie that I have here. So that's what was going on beforehand. I had experienced the summer slump, and I have a lot of digital offers that I didn't have previously. So my plan for the summer was get a bunch of people on my list and sell some small things to them so that they can start to get a flavor for what it's like to work with me in a larger capacity. I just wanted to educate. Because also, during the summer, people don't check their emails as religiously. I knew that there was a chance that if I sent a few sales emails, that because my open rates have historically been lower in the summer as well, that I might also be experiencing people just missing those sales emails when they go out of town. So that was the whole premise for me doing this. It wasn't a huge stretch for me time-wise. I didn't have a lot going on in July, personally and professionally, because of said summer slump. And I said, you know what? This is going to be the first year that I don't experience it. Let's dive in. So that is what I did. I have an entire document, because this is how my marketing person and I work together, is that I create an email. I create all of my emails in Google Docs, and then she takes all of that information and plugs it into my ActiveCampaign, does all of the tagging and that for me. So I have all of this in one single document. You can see on the left, I've got July 1st, 2nd, emails to specific lists, etc. So I took those and copied and pasted them over to ChatGPT, and I asked it, hey there, I wrote one email a day for an entire month last summer. I want to pull some information from them. And if I paste them all here, can you tell me the overall tone, how often I sold in them, and what offers I sold? So then I went ahead and put all of that information, let's see, 40 something pages. How big was this document? 43 pages worth of emails into ChatGPT. Here's what it told me. That was a haul, but a delightful one. I went through your emails and here's the breakdown. 1, overall tone. The voice was conversational, irreverent, confident, with heart. The tone was casual and professional. The vibes were highly relatable, a little bit of sass, smart humor. This sounds like it's reflecting me pretty well. How often you sold. Out of the 31 days of emails, this is Chat's perception, I sold in 29 of them. 2 were just pure engagement or education plays, as in survey engagement or podcast promo of other podcasts that I was on. Most emails contained at least one call to action, and many had more than one. That's a solid 93.5% sell-through rate without sounding like a sales robot. Great. What offers I sold? I sold 4 main things over and over in different flavors. This is correct because I only really have 3 or 4 offers. Can you write this for me? Which is my hourly done for you copy services. I promoted that heavily in the first 10 to 12 days, and that's because I'd actually launched it in July. So that was a lot of it, was introducing my audience to, can you write this for me? I also advertised for copy on demand. I mentioned that in about 10 emails, and then also my templates and trainings. What it didn't seem to pick up is my other done for you offers, which checks out. I did not go back and read the 46 pages of emails, but I don't tend to promote my large done for you packages very much in my emails. The reason for that is because most of my clients, their buying behavior is that they come into my world well before they need me to do done for you work. It's a hard sell to say, hey man, you should do your website right now, pay me thousands of dollars to write it for you. Versus a lot of them stay in my ecosystem for a while, they continue to learn from me, they realize that they can't do it on their own, and then hire me to do it later on. So I tend to promote my lower ticket things in my emails anyway, but it seems like Chat didn't pick up, or that I simply didn't write, a lot of information plugging my done for you services. And then, of course, I had a lot of information in there about affiliate offers and client collabs. It can be just as potent to marry your brand to other people's brands as it is to promote yourself. So I did promote a lot of my clients, especially my copy on demand clients, in those emails as well. So ultimately it said I was selling 90% of the time, but it didn't feel like it. Why? Because I led with story, teaching, or entertainment. I name dropped client wins, which was a social proof masterclass, according to Chat. And I always positioned the offer in a helpful, timely way. Now, it asked if I wanted stats visualized or broken down by call to action. I don't need that. What I'm going to tell you is what actually happened. I did not see a decrease in anything except for open rate occasionally, and a lot of times that happened on weekends. People just hold their boundaries really well during the summer, I think is what happened. Other wins are that I collected a lot of data. I can clearly see what days of the week my emails were opened most frequently. I could clearly see if buttons versus in-text links got more engagement. And spoiler alert, they did. They actually was right on par with other research that I've done with my clients that buttons get clicks at about a 3 times higher rate than in-text links. So buttons were working. I got to experiment a lot with subject lines. For me, short subject lines that were not questions and did include emojis got opened at a higher rate than longer subject lines without emojis or ones that started with a question. So I learned a lot about subject lines, my calls to action. I varied quite a bit with longer form and shorter form emails. I didn't see a significant difference in click-through rate on those. The only difference in click-through rate came from the type of engagement that it was, a button or a link. Other things, let's go back to the thread. How did I transition to the everyday cycle? I did not announce that I was going to be sending emails every day. I just started doing it. How did I continue after July into August? I just went back to posting or sending emails a couple times a week. And whereas before, back in May, June, 2 or 3 times a week sometimes felt like a heavy lift, all of a sudden I had so much grace and time in my schedule in August when I went down to 2 to 3 times a week. So that felt really expansive for me. Other questions that people had were, did I use a mix of hard and soft sells? Yes, absolutely. And if I was sending these to different audiences, mostly I think every single day I messaged my full list. However, I also sent additional emails occasionally to affiliates or to people who are in my membership just with specific information. So the question then becomes, is this something that you should do? And this is it depends. Because for me, I ended up seeing a huge uptick in sales in my digital products and the things that I was positioning. I then, in August and September, had a significant influx of people wanting to work with me one-on-one because I had put so much information out there previously in the summer, which is also very natural. We see marketing typically on a 90-day cycle, where if we're educating, nurturing, and then selling, we tend to then see the benefits of that marketing push later on down the road. So that didn't surprise me at all either. So those are the hard outcomes for me, were that I did sell more of my digital products and I had a really great pipeline moving into Q3 and Q4. Should you do that though? That really depends. What is your audience used to and how does your audience consume information? My audience is other business owners, so we're on our computers all the time. My younger brother, for example, is a union painter. That man checks his email only when he locks himself out of his Netflix account and needs to go get a password. So if you're selling to people who are like my brother versus like me, you're going to completely overwhelm them if you send an email every single day. Also, you should think about your capacity and your energy. If you're sending an email every single day and you actually start selling, can you handle that influx of sales, especially if it's done for you work? If you commit to something and then don't finish it, how are you going to feel about yourself? These questions are different. The answers to these questions are different for everybody. I encourage you to think about that, because when you put yourself in a position where you're doing a challenge of create an email every single day or do a reel every single day, that can be diet culture for entrepreneurs. If your brain, if your psyche doesn't vibe well with things like that, don't do it. If you don't have the energy, if you would be upset with yourself if you didn't follow through with it, then don't do it. I do encourage everyone to do email marketing, however. Build your list, welcome your people, educate your people, and for goodness sake, sell to your people. You are a business. You're here to make money. That is what I encourage you to do. Whether you are writing to your email list once a month, twice a month, once a week, twice a week, you can probably increase the frequency at which you email your audience without seeing a huge drop-off in click-through rates, open rates, or unsubscribes, or a huge increase in unsubscribes. It's the summer. Respect your energy. See where this kind of experiment can take your business.